This is a review video slash redirect video for When They Cry, the Rye Branch OVA kind of thing, whatever. Episodes 3, 4, and 5. We finish up the branch itself. 3 episode reaction. So click in the link in the description below to go watch my reaction, and then come back here if you want to see my full kind of thoughts of the whole kind of branch itself, and my kind of ideas rolling around in my head and so on and so forth. So click away now, or be spoiled as to what happened in this branch and Rye itself, something like that. So click away now. Okay. So very interesting branch. I loved the little mid-section of the branch itself, episodes 2 through 4, where I mentioned it in reaction, but like the first episode was like an OVA style kind of like fluff thing. It was just for fun, just all the characters on all the seasons just having fun, essentially. The last episode, episode 5, also kind of similar to that, but not all characters, just like, a set group of them just having fun with a couple characters, essentially. But in the mid stuff, episodes 2, 3, and 4, that is like, to me, the meat of like this branch, where essentially at the very end of episode 1, Rika gets hit by a truck, essentially. She passes out, she wakes up in a new world. And it turns out that this world is completely different in every aspect of everything, essentially. Like, everything shifted. I assumed it was all because the Major wasn't there because of what happened at the very end of season 2, with the whole, like, making sure her parents are alive and not dead, and she didn't get through foster care and, mixed up with Tokyo and all that kind of stuff like that. So I assumed that was the reason, which we still haven't really got a clear picture why at the very end of season 2 we saw Rika as more of like a teenager kind of adult kind of thing, back in time when the Major was a kid. Still haven't. Who knows? But we got to see a world in which there was no sin, where all the characters didn't have sin. They didn't have to sin. It was all just sort of normal, essentially. All the parents were still alive. Rika's mom and dad were still alive. Reina's parents were still together. Then we have Satoshi, who is still walking around with them as well as their parents and everything still alive. Just like a bunch of things. Everyone's happy, essentially. Kaiichi didn't sin with the gun, so he ended up not moving to the city, and the dam project went off without a hitch, and everybody is kind of slowly moving out of the city to prepare for the dam, flooding the whole area. So that was the pretty much premise of that world. Now, the idea that Hanyu couldn't enter that world because there was another entity involved in the world, and it turned out to be the mom, being the eighth daughter, the first daughter, the eighth first daughter, sort of thing. It made her special. So when her seal is broken, that's when Hanyu can jump into the world and fix it and everything like that, or bring Rika back to her world, kind of thing. That was the idea. We never got to see the ultimate decision because Rika woke up in her world, the actual world, after the truck incident. After she got hit by the truck, it appears she was in a coma for a couple months or a month or something like that. Now, my theory is that there was no dream world. That was just like, it was probably something that Hanyu put together just to show Rika what it's like to be a god, essentially, like what to choose, how the decisions that they have to make in order to make the everyone's lives happier, and so on and so forth, like the sins that she had to bear. Um, so okay, so I feel like Rika got hit by the truck, right? She got into a coma, and the only way to communicate to Rika, she was on the verge of always being in a coma, aka the dream world. She wanted to stay in the dream world with like the parents and everyone's happy, this kind of thing. Think of the dream world as the coma kind of thing. In my theory, anyways, that's kind of what I'm thinking of. And then her actual world, where everybody else is, where like everyone had hardships and everything going through, parents dying, all these kind of tasks and things that they've all conquered in this world, kind of thing. They all come together as friends to fix and actually achieve. That is like the actual, real world, essentially. So because Rika, in my theory, was in a coma, the dream world is the coma. So Hanyu was trying to, I guess, show her what it's like to be a god, but at the same time, trying to convince her to wake up from the coma. Because apparently she hit her head with the truck, kind of thing. Hanyu said that her face was like unrecognizable, but then in the actual world she's fine, kind of thing. But that might have been just like a play to kind of make her think she's in a different world and not still in a coma, kind of thing. So we never got to see her decision, but she claims that she perhaps made the decision to kill her mom, so that way Hanyu could bring her back to this world. But I don't think she did. I don't think she made a decision. I think Hanyu gave her the ultimatum about choosing which world to do, and maybe at that point she snapped Rika out of it to become in like the real world, kind of thing, and that sort of triggered like, did I because she's back in this world, she had to have killed her mom, so that way like her mind started racing and just like assuming all this kind of stuff. So I think when Hanyu literally said a dream, I think it was literal, like she knew it was a dream, like it wasn't real. But I don't know. It's a very interesting kind of premise, because you're working with like god powers and like jumping between worlds and stuff, that anything's possible. But in my theory, like I could definitely see Rika being in the coma the entire time, and the dream world being the coma, essentially, because she snapped out of the coma, it inadvertently just left that world, essentially. Is because Hanyu wanted to kind of show her, I guess, what it's like to be a god, what decisions she had to make up to this point, kind of thing. Like here's a little taste of what I've had to deal with, kind of thing, to become a god. The little gem thing in her dream, kind of thing, that was her kind of only way to kind of communicate with her. But at the same time, Hanyu made it so the gem's power like went out occasionally, so it was up to Rika to actually decide things and not always have to rely on Hanyu. So it was up to her to kind of figure stuff out and decide what she wants to do in her dream, kind of thing. So it was a very, very interesting concept. It basically gave Rika an insight of what Hanyu has to do, millennia, kind of thing that she's been doing for so long. But yeah, I mean, again, anything's possible with this. Like anything could be possible. It could literally legitly be a different world, and then Rika did kill her mom and then snapped back into this world. And then, Hanyu kind of fixed up her face so her face is normal again. And made a miraculous recovery, something like that. Anything's really possible, but I like to think my theory is that it was all just a coma. Everything was a coma. The dream was a coma, and it was just all like an inner test kind of thing while Rika was in a coma, essentially. I don't think she was really trapped there. I think it was just a way to cope with what was happening. It was a way to cope with being in a coma, still being able to talk to Hanyu, but because she was in a coma, she couldn't talk to Hanyu all the time. Uh, so yeah, really cool. I liked the episode a lot. It was really interesting, or the episodes, I should say. It was very, very interesting. I mean, as for the two of OVAs at the very end, like I said, episode 1 and episode 5, they were just silly. I mean, that was pretty much it. They were just having fun. But those 3 episodes, they were really interesting. So I'm glad we got to watch them. So I'm gonna leave it there. I don't think there's anything else for me to talk about in these episodes. Rena's kind of idea of the whole premise and everything, that was cool. Just seeing Rena's side of things and what she thought of it. Basically saying like, the 2 candy thing, kind of thing. What, like, choose which one you want, and she says this one, and it's like, oh, candy. It's like, yay! But like, why are you celebrating? This one had 2 candy, like there's like each one has their benefits, but one has more than the other, and so on and so forth. But it's not up for us mortals to decide. It's up to the gods to decide. That was pretty cool. I like that kind of explanation. But yeah, very, very cool episodes. I can't wait to see what the other kind of branches. Next week we're watching Kira. 2 episodes of Kira, and then week after that 2 more episodes to finish up the Kira branch. And the Outbreak movie afterwards. So 3 weeks from now. So I'm wondering what Kira is going to be all about. I'm wondering what the Outbreak movie is going to be about. Just more kind of shenanigans in the Kira thing, and then maybe like a serious, because like movies are typically always like lore. They wouldn't make an entire movie like an OVA, kind of thing. But yeah, if it's a dedicated movie, like Outbreak movie, then yeah, I mean, freaking anything is possible. They literally could have had another outbreak, kind of thing, where like people are starting to go crazy and dying and so on and so forth, and they have to fix it and like figure anything's possible. I don't know. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next week for some more When They Cry. Take care, buddy.